Coming up in today's video, discover the power of the mystical St Johns Wort with me as I celebrate the solstice, exploring the plant with its midsummer traditions and customs. The light has been gaining since the spring equinox. However, now the sun is at his zenith, the peak of his power. We are at the longest day and the shortest night of the year, a time of triumph for the light. Today I will be visiting and working with the St Johns Wort in my area. This little sun-faced flower with its evil dispersing rays was first dedicated to the Norse god Balder as the sun god's flower, then later Christianized as St Johns Wort. The roots of the plant bear red spots, which in Norway are attributed to Balder's blood, and elsewhere to the blood of St John. However, it's not all bloody. In pre-Christian Europe, St Johns Wort was quite a romantic flower and was thought to have the power to attract a soulmate. The young maid stole through the cottage door and blushed as she sought the plant of power. Thou silver glowworm, oh lend me thy light. I must gather the mystic St Johns Wort tonight, the wonderful herb whose leaves shall decide if the coming year shall see me a bride. There are almost 500 different species of Hypericum, many of which are commonly referred to as St Johns Wort. However, the species that is referred to most in British folklore is the Hypericum perforatum. The subject of much myth and legend and a herbal remedy, perforate St Johns Wort, also known as common St Johns Wort, can be easily identified by its leaves. Its leaves have scattered, tiny, translucent dots, which when held up to the sunlight give the impression that the leaf is perforated, thus giving it its scientific name, perforatum. Though whole-like, these dots are actually colourless glands containing plant oils and resins that give off the plant's foxy scent. As for its famous bright yellow flowers, they are star-shaped and peppered with tiny black dots. Another important characteristic of the plant lies in the buds, which, when crushed, release a reddish-purple substance which resembles human blood. This pigment is the bioactive compound hypericin, where much of the Hypericum's medicine resides. It is also found in the plant's stems, leaves, and seeds. Unfortunately, due to the toxicity of hypericin, St Johns Wort is considered a noxious weed, so care should be taken when handling the plant, and also to keep away from any pets, as when ingested by an animal, it can sensitize its skin to sunlight, causing lesions. All forms of the Hypericum boast beautiful golden yellow flowers. though they all look quite similar, they can be identified by some differing characteristics. For example, one that I find quite interesting and easily identifiable is the Hypericum punctatum, also known as the spotted St Johns Wort. For this species, dark dots and streaks can appear anywhere on the upper surface of the yellow petals, whereas for other species of the St Johns Wort, such dots and streaks, if present, are confined near the margins of the petals. Looking more closely at this species, one will also notice that their new leaves are also heavily dotted with black glands around the edges and on the underside, making for a very spotted St Johns Wort indeed. Though I find it interesting, as far as I know, it's not resident in the UK, and this species is also not one I'm particularly enamoured with. I do, however, like the Hypericum Hidcote, which is one of the most commonly grown species of Hypericum in the UK. This form of the St Johns Wort has large saucer-shaped golden flowers with 5 petals surrounding a prominent tuft of golden stamens and orange anthers. As for the leaves, they are narrowly ovate with a rich blue-green colour. I found this species of the flower growing along our local canal. Its brightly coloured flowers stood out from its surroundings, drawing me into its sunshine splendour. The Hidcote is a cultivar of the Hypericum patulum, which is native to China. I was delighted to find it had a beautiful Chinese name, Jinsimei, the golden threaded plum, thus named not only due to its likeness to a plum blossom, but also because of the sacred fruit it bears. In China, the golden threaded plum is known to be a resilient plant, which likes shade and is resistant to waterlogging. For over there, it is usually only found in damp and dark valleys. The fresh fruit is known to be a special medicine. In China's Yunnan province, the Miao people even regard it as a spirit or deity, calling it xianguo, fairy fruit or deity fruit, and it is eaten as a tribute to the gods at the beginning of religious rites. According to the local people, the fruit has some magical medicinal health benefits, which aid in strengthening the body, and thus has been in use as a custom of theirs for thousands of years. Professor Wang Zhengtao of China Pharmaceutical University analysed the composition of the fresh fruit, and the results he found were quite surprising indeed. He found that the fresh fruit of the golden threaded plum was rich in more than 80 kinds of ingredients, such as rutin, hypericin, hyperin, and tannin, which would indeed have some preventative and therapeutic effects on certain ailments. What is even more amazing is that every time the fresh fruit is placed for more than 1 hour, 25% of the medicinal ingredients are lost. The reasons for this are unknown and are attributed to the magic of nature. Another species of the St Johns Wort that I am particularly fond of is the Hypericum Calycinum, also known as Erin's Beard or the Rose of Shannon in the UK. Each rose-like flower presents 5 petals surrounding a prominent tuft of bushy stamens and reddish anthers. In Chinese, it is called Jinsi Tao, the golden threaded peach. Another pretty name the Chinese have for it is the golden butterfly. I continued on my journey in search of more of this pretty flower. Continuing along the canal, I enjoyed taking in the reflection of the surrounding nature on the water's surface. As I gazed, taking in its beauty, I noticed someone else was out enjoying the midsummer sunshine too. a sweet Mr Turtle, gently sunbathing and dipping his little feet into the waters. A few steps further, I came across a cute little kitty and a gorgeous black and yellow scarlet tiger moth who complimented me on my dress for the season. With our yellow, we looked a perfect pair. I love these serendipitous moments. A little further on, I also encountered a flock of geese. They seemed very interested in me. Perhaps they thought I was Mother Goose's granddaughter. Then passing some more gorgeous yellow flowers, it wasn't long before I arrived at my next location. Built in 1871 by J.G. Bland, this high Victorian Gothic-style building is its town's former infirmary. Here, patients would have been treated for a myriad of different ailments, and is the location I would next find the Hypericum Calycinum. The genus Hypericum comes from the combination of two Greek words, hyper meaning above, and icon meaning picture. This name is believed to stem from the ancient Greeks' traditional usage of the herb, hung above images of gods to repel evil spirits and influences. For hundreds of years, St Johns Wort was believed to possess spiritual powers and the ability to rid a person of demons. This is reflected in many of its ancient names. For example, a medical text from the 13th century, the Salernitan Herbal, refers to St Johns Wort as Herba Demonis Fuga, the herb that chases away the devil. This was also reiterated by Thomas Browne, who in 1835 stated that the St Johns Wort was also said to purify the air from the devil's uncleanliness. During medieval times, the priests continued the customs of the Greeks in using the plant in exorcism, and it acquired the name Devil's Flight. In a 17th century Catholic exorcism tale, after having failed to eliminate the devil using holy water, incense and rue, a priest called for the herb of grace, and especially St Johns Wort, which therefore they call Devil's Flight. For so Pope Alexander I promised and commanded priests to use it for the sanctifying and pacifying the people, and driving away snares of the devil. It is likely that many of the accounts of demon possession in the past would now be identified as depression, panic attacks, or possibly even seasonal affective disorder. In fact, Paracelsus, a Swiss physician, revolutionized the understanding of depression and mental instability by calling it an illness by the name of phantasma. This provided a window of explanation for the characterization of depression, making a strong link between conditions of the mind and the presence of inner demons. He believed it to be a disease without body or substance, for which there was no cure except the Hypericum, the St Johns Wort. The plant actually carried on being a favourite herbal remedy for such illnesses until the end of the 16th century, when pharmaceutical drugs started to take over on a larger scale. Looking back further in the past, we also find that the oldest preserved book documenting monastic medicine, the 8th century Lorscher Arzneibuch, recommended St Johns Wort as a means to address melancholy. What's interesting to note is that in modern times it has proved to be an antidepressant and is even known as a natural Prozac. However, with all this said, St Johns Wort may interfere with and reduce the efficacy of certain prescription drugs, rendering some of them useless, and so one should always consult a doctor first before using this plant. Now, looking back even further, all the way back to the times of ancient Egypt, the plant was reputed to absorb the energies of the sun and redirect this divine energy to repel malevolent forces, attracting forth positive ones. With hospitals often dealing with sick and unhappy patients, it's not surprising that a former Victorian hospital such as this would have planted a species of the Hypericum in their gardens to provide a more positive atmosphere and experience. These large sun-soaked flowers do indeed lift the spirit, attract joy, and most definitely bring light to those darker, melancholic days. Though St Johns Wort may not be used in quite the same way as it was in the past, it still continues to offer much emotional support and spiritual benefit to human beings living and navigating the world we reside in today. With all this world's modern improvements and universal expansion, this ancient herb still undeniably aids our calibration and navigation through the unique challenges of today. With all that said, being the summer solstice, it is the perfect time to gather this sun-powered plant for workings and solstice cheer. And whilst I do so, let's enjoy an English translation of a Gaelic incantation.
St Johns Wort, my envy, whosoever has thee, I will pluck thee with my right hand, I'll preserve thee with my left hand. Whoso findeth thee in the cattle fold shall never be without care.
Having gathered the mystical St Johns Wort, it was time to return back home to continue our festivities with some traditional customs and crafts. It was a midsummer custom to deck the house with St Johns Wort. Due to its protective properties, this act was thought to protect the household from evil magic, curses, negative spirits, and any natural disasters that might occur, such as lightning. One would drape the sunny flowers all about windows. I love how the little flowers really brighten up the place. Everything feels much lighter and exudes so much joy. Another especially important place to drape the plant would be over the front door. unlike the hawthorn blossoms I worked with at Beltane, flowers of the St Johns Wort could be brought into the house, and those especially brought in on Midsummer's Day are said to protect the household from a myriad of misfortunes, including invasion by evil spirits, illness, and fire. Having brought them in, I thought I'd take another look at the 3 types of St Johns Wort I had gathered. The perforate flowers were the smallest, followed by the Hidcote, and then the Calycinum. Another wonderful midsummer custom is to wear the St Johns Wort on the neck, in order to dispel melancholy and drive away all manner of unwanted spirits. In times past, mothers would hang the St Johns Wort on the necks of their children to protect them against illness for a year. The plant was thought to be particularly effective in warding off mental illnesses if it was gathered on Midsummer's Day or Eve. Apart from warding away sickness, St Johns Wort can be carried to attract love. In celebration of the Summer Solstice, I will be making a little St Johns Wort necklace to capture that sunny joyfulness in a sweet bottle I can take around with me, attracting more health, happiness, and love into my life. For this, I prepared and cleansed a little glass bottle. I carefully chose 3 dried St Johns Wort flowers that I particularly found beautiful, all the while feeling the love, health, and happiness radiating from its sun-soaked petals. I then took a long piece of yellow cord to create the necklace. I secured the cork in place with some glue and fastened the ends of the cord with glue too, creating a simple St Johns Wort talisman. The St Johns Wort was traditionally burned in the midsummer fires as a sun herb all around England to purify communities and crops. As a sun herb, it was thought to strengthen the power of the sun, whereas the smoke from the fires protected the fields from any disasters, such as drought or wildfires. In some areas, bundles of the plant were set alight and dragged across fields, which was said to increase the yield of the crops. Apart from midsummer fires, it can also be burned during rituals of exorcism and also in offerings to honor the departed and celebrate their life. Having spent a day with the St Johns Wort, painting the perforatum and the beloved Hidcote, I thought it time for the squirrels to enjoy this mystical plant too. But before I set a little party for them, I decided to also paint the Calycinum, the golden butterfly. I think this is my favourite of the 3 types of St Johns Wort I had visited today. I picked this particular flower head to paint onto a rock, as it's like a backward flowing golden flower wheel, which will be perfect for future meditations. There is still so much to explore when it comes to the St Johns Wort. However, I've come to the end of my journey for today, and so let us enjoy some time with the plant and Mr Squirrel.
The moon, she dances like the waves on the shore, making circles like the waves on the shore.